Okay.
You gotta
Hi,
include that.
friends.
Ready?
Oh,
In 3, 2, 1, go.
hi, friends. Thank you for joining the Dose of Discourse, where we talk about everything from an underrated TV show called Corey in the House and Lizzie McGuire. Many people have called me Kane, Kano, and even Kanye. I'm not as emotionally unstable and can't rap to save my life, but you can call me Kai. I am joined by
AJ.
Eric.
Oh, are you supposed to do intros for us?
No. Oh my gosh. We have to start over now.
No. We're keeping this. And Tiffany.
Anthony. Wait, I already introduced myself.
No, you didn't.
You waved, but I didn't hear you.
And Tiffany.
Okay, yes,
Okay.
clear. Yes.
And
yes.
today we are talking about the immigration experience and how it has shaped our lives. So you'll get to hear our experiences, background, and get to know us a little bit better. So let's get started.
Okay, so first off, ding dong, the witch is dead. The the orange Oompa Loompa in the White House is officially gone, and we've inaugurated a brand new president. That is Joseph R. Biden with Vice President Kamala something Harris. I forgot her middle initial. But yes, historic.
It's H.
Yes,
Isn't it H?
H sounds right. Kamala H. Harris. So initial thoughts. Do we have any feelings? Did anyone watch the inauguration? No.
I was working.
I was
I was
working.
sleeping.
I was still sleeping.
I was
but-
still sleeping.
Okay, so everyone was not watching, but I was watching
Sorry.
it. I watched it. I had it in the background while I was working. It was fun. Obviously, a lot of memes came out of it. The fashion was great. All the guys were boring. They just wear boring suits, except for one person. That is Bernie Sanders. He had those iconic gloves and just a regular old coat, and he had like the folder walking in. He said, this is something on my schedule, but it's not the only thing on my schedule. I got work to do.
It's not my whole schedule.
So,
Hey, he was dressed for practicality, It's
Yep.
cold.
But yeah, any feelings? No.
I think Michelle Obama looked amazing. To start off with, she was rocking it.
I saw a post comparing her dress code.
Yeah.
This inauguration versus the 2016 inauguration. You can definitely tell that she upscaled her.
I
What
really
was it
was
before?
living. It was the same color, except like she
It's
just
like a
really
trench coat.
she
It's like
just
a trench
really
coat.
flexed on everyone this year
Yeah.
versus like last year. But I really liked everyone in like the monochrome. I saw everyone. There's like a post of like Biden's his granddaughter, and they're like, man, she walked it with the Air Jordans.
Oh yeah,
The
that was
purple
Oh,
Air
that was
Jordans.
her.
Yeah, that's his granddaughter.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, I think the fashion is really nice. I know my dad was telling me how there was like there was like this girl. She was doing like poetry. She was like one of the top like youth poets in like nation. She like my dad said her like the poem or whatever she was speaking about was like really really good. So I might have to watch that later.
Well, okay, so the theme for today is immigration, and I'll get to why in a little bit, but part of the why is because all of us, I guess we come from immigrant backgrounds, so we thought it'd be interesting to cover those topics. But I guess connecting the inauguration, there were like 30 executive orders that have happened since Biden has become president, and most of them happened on the first day, and a lot of them had to do with immigration. I'll go over some of them, and they're on various, I guess, categories, but a lot of them are immigration. So, for example, what do we have here? He halted construction of the border wall and terminated the national emergency declaration that was used to fund it. He he undid the expansion of the enforcement policy that was implemented under Trump, which sought to deport all people who are undocumented, and not just people who are considered security risks or uh,
Criminals.
criminals. Exactly, people who are doing violent crimes, things like that. Um, he did the reversal of the Muslim ban, basically from I think it was like 7 Muslim majority countries. Um, what else? He fortified DACA and undid some of Trump's efforts to weaken DACA. Uh, Required non-citizens to be included in the census as it's always been, and of course that affects how representation and funds are allocated to various congressional districts. There's uh, something on gender and sexuality, no preventing workplace discrimination. Um, there's a lot I can go on. There's the rejoining the Paris Climate Accords. There's canceling the Keystone XL pipeline. And so the ones that I've been reading so far are just in the first day. So I think there's like 13 executive orders, and there's still more I haven't covered, like rejoining the World Health
Right.
Organization. But a lot of these are immigration. And I
There
think
was
that's
one
really
big one.
interesting. What was that?
It was the 8-year path to citizenship for
Yes.
undocumented.
So that one is technically not an executive order,
No.
but it was something he did on that first day, that he submitted like a bill basically to the Congress and urging them to pass it. But I think he does have some power there, but he wants to see if Congress will be able to pass it first, which was creating an 8-year pathway to citizenship for those who are undocumented who are already in the United States. But also, I think he wanted to create automatic, well, not automatic, provide permanent residency to people who are, I guess, in DACA, as soon as possible. And so that's something we'll be looking at. And I thought that was really interesting. But with that being said, I don't know, does anyone have any feelings on all that, I guess, very heavy policy kind of stuff?
For some reason, the only thing that's like popping up in my head, and it's not even on topic, is like, wow, Eric talks a lot. I think it was like, just in general, like he's definitely like doing a lot to kind of reverse like everything that was happening during the Trump presidency and trying to take a step forward and stuff like that. But definitely he's still like, there's still a lot of work to do. And just because like we have like a better quote unquote better president doesn't mean that people should stop like fighting for like things that they like believe in and stuff, just to keep making things relevant in media and society. Anyone else?
No.
No.
Well, I don't know. Well, I think it's
We'll see.
all really exciting. Yeah, it's something that exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of these are undoing things that Trump had did, or things that Trump had undone. So he's undoing what Trump had undone in many ways. So I guess we'll have to see. But I think it's an important indicator to the world and also within our country for like how we're going to be moving forward. But I guess I think it'd be interesting if we started with delving into kind of our stories. I think it mostly starts with our parents, but I think it'd be cool if we talked about kind of our, immigration story. Like, why are we here in America? Apart from my mom brought me.
Who wants to go?
Yeah,
don't know
I
who
think
wants to start.
I think Tiffany wants to go first.
Okay. Okay. Well,
Hello.
hello. So personally, my background, I was born in America, so I kind of had that. I didn't have to go through DACA or through any of that like processes in a sense. I was born in Chicago, actually in Chicago. You know, some people are just like, "Were you actually born in Chicago or whatever?" So there was that. But my parents immigrated from Cambodia. I think my mom immigrated when she was in 5th grade.
Oh, she
So
was young.
Oh,
yeah,
so
she was pretty young.
so she's been here for a while then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I guess for them, they grew up in a time where it was during the Khmer Rouge, which was the Cambodian genocide. Um, yeah, so they didn't have like a elementary education at all. So my mom did not have any schooling at all until she came to America. So she didn't know any English or any really like Cambodian at all. So she said that uh if people swore at her, she'd just say, "Okay, okay." And so yeah, and like
Oh,
yeah, so that
Cute.
was really sad. She always tells me that story. It's kind of funny thinking
Uh,
about it now, but like I know back then, like it's kind of sad. But yeah, so she was thankfully able to escape and find refugee here. When she was in 5th grade with her dad and her brother. My dad uh went through all of that, so he had to go through the Khmer Rouge. He was I don't want to say recruited, but he technically kind of was recruited during that time. And then he went through all that. I forgot how many years that was. I remember in like middle school and stuff, I'd always do research on the Khmer Rouge, but you know, after that, and it just well, my tab. I'm pretty sure it was like oh yeah, 75 to 79, and I'm pretty sure they
that's the year it happened, right?
yeah, that's like the 4 years that it really occurred, and they killed like I think like 1 million or 2 million people. Oh, 2 million
2 million.
Cambodians. Yeah.
And
So
actually, I didn't really know about the Cambodian genocide, and it's really interesting because I do know some Cambodian people, including you. But I mean, obviously, there's some sort of supremacy that happens there, right? That causes like a genocide. But what was the? Can you give a little bit of background on that? Like who were the perpetrators and like kind of what their
yeah.
goal was?
So for the Khmer Rouge, if I can quickly remember, God damn it.
If you don't know what's happening, Tiffany has a cat and he kind of just likes to show up on.
Yeah.
He likes to groom himself in front of
Yes.
everyone.
Yes, for those who are listening without video, my cat currently jumped onto the couch and he's grooming himself and he's being yoga cat.
Oh my.
So I think going back, so uh Cambodia used to be a very communist country. And so that really split the country between the Communist Party and I think it's either the Khmer people or I don't remember what the other party was called. The good people, I guess in a sense. I guess we can summarize and call it the good people. And so they to just like really briefly summarize the communist people really did it's kind of like similar to the Holocaust where they didn't like educated people, and so they'd kill you off if you were a teacher, a police officer, anything like of a status. And so yeah, I'm pretty sure there's like people who write books about it now and whatever. I wasn't prepared for this, or else I would have researched more.
Wasn't there
uh,
also like a Netflix movie on like
yes.
the
So the
Cambodian
Killing
genocide?
Fields, or
Yeah.
no, what is it called? First they killed my father.
Mm.
First they killed my father was the Netflix adaptation or documentary about a story of a girl who was actually my mom's age, or she's younger than my mom, who wrote a book about it. So my dad's very skeptical about it because he's like, does she really remember? Because she was 7 at that time. But I mean, she has word of mouth. So everybody's gonna be able to tell their details about everything.
This movie's directed by Angelina Jolie.
Oh yeah, because she
Angelina,
has a
Yeah.
her oldest
she
son
has
is
a yeah, it's Cambodian.
mhm. I think he's like 20 now or something.
Yeah, they've
Yeah.
grown.
Really? Oh my gosh. I still thought they were like 5.
Yeah. And so the Khmer Rouge was able to be overthrown by, or the Khmer Rouge was overthrown by Vietnamese, and then it started going against the Vietnamese as well. And then I think the United States helped end it by, like, I think bombing the area or something. I don't really know. It ended, and then my dad lived there until he married my mom, and then he was able to apply for whatever the process to come to America and all that. I think he was like 25 or something. And then he came here, and then I was born
Oh.
in 98. Woo!
Wow.
Woo, yeah. So I think it's just, I don't know. I think it's just with my family, we just all kind of, my mom, she wasn't expecting to marry my dad the day that when she went to go visit Cambodia. She's like, okay, I'll go meet him and we can engage, and then like we can figure it out.
And then she got there and they're like, "Oh, you're getting married."
Yeah. Yeah.
She got she got debated.
She's just like, oh, okay, I guess I'm getting married now.
Yeah, sure. Casual.
Yeah. But I mean, like,
Dang.
my family tree is kind of weird. My dad is, so my dad's uncle and his wife is related to my mom on my mom's side. And so, like, that, yeah,
Oh
that
no,
tree,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I know.
it's,
I have something similar that with
yeah.
like my dad, like his my aunt, she's not related to me by blood, but her brother's like wife is like distantly related to my mom.
Mhm.
So it's like confusing, like when
Yeah.
like the family tree all kind of connects
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, I think it's, I don't know if it's my mom's cousin or her aunt, like married my dad's uncle. So like
Yeah.
that's how they knew of my dad.
Yeah.
And so they're like, "Oh, let's introduce my mom to my dad." And then
Mm.
there we go.
Boom.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And that's
Cool.
how we,
Wow.
yeah. So that's how the same process. And then my grandma came
Yeah.
like
So then they brought
2003. Yeah. And
yeah,
then just like slowly bringing people
petition.
over
Yeah.
on and
I feel
on.
like definitely it was like more easy like back then to like petition.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like
Uh-huh.
around that time, like early 90s and like
Mhm.
early 2000s.
Yeah. And yeah. I think this just like applying for citizenship and like
Yeah.
everything back then was so much easier than it
A
is
lot
now.
easier.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I can't
Citizenships,
imagine.
visas now. Yeah.
And then how does the reason for arrival shape your world perspective? I guess just like every time my dad always talks about, like every time like Jesse comes over, uh my dad always talks about his time back then. Like he'll always say like, "Oh, when they were training us, or like during at night we'd have to sit in trenches, and like I just like put my arms on, or my head on top of a AK-90 or whatever." And I'm
Oh
just
my
like,
god. Bro, I feel like when dads like talk about stuff like that, it's so
yeah.
casual. It's so casual.
Yeah. He
Like they're
casually
like
just
they casually like flex on you about
yeah,
that. Like
he
for
just
no reason.
I know. He just like casually brings it up, and I'm just like,
My
okay.
my uncle does that. My uncle definitely does that. He'll be like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, we used to walk around town with like the AK-47s, and then like everyone like just nods at us." And I'm like, "Bro, you weren't even like in the police. You guys were just carrying guns."
Yeah. Yeah, I know. My dad was literally like what, 15 at that time, like,
Yeah,
or not even 15, like just
I'm pretty young.
casually carrying that. Like they were all kids. It's just
Yeah,
crazy. It's just like, yeah. It's just like, yeah, they're always, I guess with them, they're always telling us to be grateful, like for what we
yeah.
have, and not to be too greedy, and yeah. So
Like it's definitely interesting to see like people who like grow up in times like that, because like especially like you said your dad was like 15, like around like that's still a kid, like
Yeah.
in like the
yeah.
eyes of like in like a first world country, but like
Yeah.
definitely if you're like living in like conditions like that, like you learn to like you have to like grow up like real
Yeah.
fast.
Survival.
Like yeah.
Scrounging for food and whatever. And like with my mom, she had a language barrier, so she didn't know what was
Yeah.
going on.
All
Did your
Yeah.
dad know some English then, or?
No, he actually in Cambodia, no. So he stayed there all the way up to a bachelor's degree or a Cambodian equivalent to a bachelor's degree,
okay.
and then he had to come here and learn English.
Mm.
Oh, so he
Yeah, so
learned
he
English.
didn't learn until like he was like 20 something.
Oh
Mm.
yeah. It's
Yeah,
definitely harder too when you're like older
older.
to learn. It's actually like English is like a really confusing language, definitely. Like if it's like not something you like grow up like slightly learning, like it's
Yeah.
something like you definitely have to practice like a lot or else you forget.
For sure.
Which is interesting, right? Because I think a lot of countries now, and I think it's interesting at least that they're requiring you learn English. And I'm thinking of,
Yeah.
at least for me, I'm thinking of Mexico because they could learn any other language, right? But I mean,
Yeah.
the United States is right there, so it makes sense that they're now requiring, hey, you got to learn English.
Yeah, I think the schools in Cambodia now they require you to learn another language.
Yeah.
Or I think maybe my dad might have learned, or I guess at his time he didn't have school, so I don't know actually then. He might have learned a bit of English. I'm not sure. I don't know if he learned because I know his mom, my grandma, she learns Chinese. I know a lot of people learn French,
Yeah.
but now they're pushing English.
I
So
think it's like definitely because like in terms of like I feel like a lot of people in like especially Asian countries and stuff, a lot of people like get into like business, like especially like international business. And like English is like one of the just the easiest ways to like communicate
communicate, yeah,
with everyone because like so many like people already like learn it. And like
yeah,
a lot of people look towards like Western culture, Western like pop culture especially. So it's become like more the norm, especially like in a lot of countries like a lot of words are like a lot of they have a lot of loan words, so a
hmm
lot of like like basic things actually that come from like are just like a translation of like how you would say it in English.
and I think it's like just like the powerhouse countries. A lot of people just
Yeah.
speak English, so I
Yeah.
think it's just like the median
Yeah.
language.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I think that's interesting. What can I ask? Um, what was your I guess parents' path once they got here? Like, what was them? Like, what's it been
Like
for
what?
them
Yeah.
now?
yeah. So for my mom, she just kind of after going through school, she just went through school after that.
Mm-hmm.
She got funny story. So my mom, I always ask my mom like, "What's your degree?" And like her bachelor's degree. And she's just always like, "I didn't major in accounting. I majored in an accountant." And I'm like, "Mom, accounting is the degree. Accountant is the position, like the job position." See, it gets me every
You
time.
never
But yeah,
you never
yeah.
know, like back then like
Well, that's true.
some things are way different, like a
Yeah,
computer science degree back then is something way different than it is now.
that's true.
True.
That's true. Yeah.
Like there was no computer science.
Yeah, so like for my mom, she said that to high school and college and stuff, she said she would take the bus and walk. Like she would never have a car because I think cars back then wasn't as
Mhm.
like popular as they are now. So she worked at McDonald's over the summer. Um, she like summer jobs, I guess. Like now, I guess my mom has the more modern background, like a
Yeah.
more similar background to as we would now. It's just
Mhm.
like more of the olden age. My dad is the one that has like a different background. When he came here, uh, his uncle is the one that's like closely related to my mom, I guess, through
Uh-huh.
his wife. He was able to get my dad a job.
Oh, that's
I
good.
don't know how soon. I think my dad said he's been working there for 25 years now.
Oh.
So
And what does he do again for
he
the
is a
viewers?
lab technician doing electrical things.
Mm.
Yeah, so I mean, he's the moneymaker out of the two. So he does things. But yeah, so he I think if it weren't for his connections, I think his language, he still would have had a hard time with
Language barrier.
with that language barrier. But he does his job well. Everyone always comes for him for help. Like,
That's good.
yeah, he's always boasting. He's like, the PhD people always come for me for help.
Because
Oh.
he has
He's
the
like,
experience,
yeah, he's
the
like,
background.
he's like, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, Dad, it's because you have like
You've been working there for
this
so
much
long.
experience, and they've only been working there for like
Yeah.
how many years? But he's like, they still come to me for help. I'm like, whatever, dude.
Yeah.
Whatever boasts your ego.
Yeah. So does like because your mom came here at a younger age and because your dad came at a like much later stage in life, does like do you see any difference in like how like their perspective on things? Because your mom definitely has more of like the background like growing up like more like quote unquote like American, like in that background, while your dad was like mostly like living in back in Cambodia. Because like you would think like how their perspective on like different things in life would like differ.
I think in terms of like traditional values, I think it
Yeah.
definitely. My dad goes towards traditional values,
Mhm.
like dating in high school.
Mhm.
That was a no-no. So, yeah.
What?
What?
Yeah.
No way.
I didn't know this.
Yeah.
You dated in high school?
Oh.
Yeah, that was a big no-no. Just like a lot of things.
Mhm.
I don't
Right.
know, like
Yeah.
superstitions or whatever.
Mhm.
Like the house shouldn't be facing east or something. I don't know. That's my dad's thing. Like
Okay, yeah.
you shouldn't have a open house, like open house or like a what is it, home warming, something like
Like a home
Like a
morning party,
yeah,
housewarming?
like an
housewarming.
open house. Yeah.
Yes, that.
Okay.
Like you shouldn't have that. You should have that on a certain day. I
Mhm.
think that's more like my grandma type
Yeah.
of thing. But yeah, but like yeah, like those types of things. I mean, my dad like believes in those things, but he doesn't push it as much as like the older
Mhm.
like his
Okay.
mom and stuff. But my mom's like, whatever, dude. Like you get a house, go for it. Yeah. So my mom definitely has like more. She's
Like
more.
more like
Yeah, she's more
like
Americanized than
yeah.
them. But I think it's just because she's been raised.
Yeah,
So
she's been here longer.
yeah,
Yeah. That's interesting.
yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Who's
Amazing.
next?
You can pick someone.
Oh, I don't want a popcorn.
Popcorn. You can pick someone.
Popcorn. I'll
You're the
pop.
popper, not the puppy.
Okay, I'll popcorn AJ since she's been
Oh.
asking me the
Oh,
questions.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. My like my I was born in Illinois, specifically Des Plaines, Illinois.
Ooh.
Me too.
I didn't move to Wheeling until I was like around 5 years old.
Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't expect that part.
Yeah, I moved to Wheeling when I was like 5. We moved from like apartment to apartment, and we like lived like with my godfather. I know definitely my parents like before I was born, they lived like a lot with like people who are like really like close family friends now, because when like especially like when my mom came, it was like you're kind of like how like put together with like communities of like people like like Filipinos, and you kind of just like knew who was like also coming in and stuff like that. But like my 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 family didn't come until, when was the Vietnam War?
Oh, I don't know.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was like when
1975
like when America like okay like around a little before that,
was when it ended.
my dad's family, like they saved like a lot of money to be able to send my oldest uncle to America, and he came around after he was in college, after he graduated college. And my dad has like 8 siblings, so there's a lot of them, and so he was the oldest. And when he came to America, he found that his degree was like useless here.
Yeah. Same
It
thing
was
with
like
my dad.
he had like an electrical engineering degree from like the Philippines, but
That was useless.
it was useless here. So he went back to school to like learn computer engineering, like before like computer science really was like a thing. Like it was like basically more like with the really big computers like that you see in like really big companies like Apple or like Boeing and like NASA. So he kind of learned more like computer software, stuff like that. But like really really soon after he came to America, he was immediately drafted for the Vietnam War, like during that time. But he was actually just stationed in Germany, and so he he was there for like during the duration of the war. But that's also where he met my aunt, because she was a nurse during that time, and they met during there, and then they had a kid together. And so my oldest cousin, she was born in Germany. She was born in Germany, but she's considered like American because she was born like on the military,
On the base.
like on the base and stuff like that. But yeah, so but like during the time like he was there, my grandpa died. My grandpa passed away, but he didn't find out until like years after until after my grandpa died, because my family said that because they're afraid that he was gonna immediately fly back to the Philippines, and then they're like, we can't afford to be able to send him back if he comes back to the Philippines. So they just never told him until like years later, and he was like I know he was really upset about that. But yeah, he eventually like started petitioning like all my uncles and my grandma, like one by one. It was like a really long process, and they all lived together. They all lived in New Jersey. They lived in New Jersey together, and then eventually they moved down to Florida. And then I know one of my uncles, he already had like kids, so like those my two cousins, they moved to America, and then I know they were really struggling because they didn't know English like whatsoever. And like I know one of my cousins, she talked about how she would get made fun of a lot because she couldn't really speak English properly. And so my grandma helped like teach her English because like they've been there for a while. And eventually like I kind of saw like for a few years in their life, like they really like started really focusing on English, and they really lost like learning how to speak our language from the Philippines for like a little bit in life. Like it was like they started forgetting how to say words, but then they did pick it back up again like later on in life. But yeah, eventually my dad, I really don't know how like my parents met, but like I do know like I think they knew each other through like they like their families kind of knew each other. But like I definitely like I was like snooping around in like one of our like in my office, because like there's like old photos of like my parents and stuff, and then like I just found like letters, like they wrote letters to each other. And then like I was just reading through it, and like I could read it. I'm like, wow, my mom was like my age during this time, like because they like dated. I'm like, my mom was like, she's 21 during this time when she's like writing letters like to my dad, and my parents have like a 13-year age difference or something like that. So yeah, he was helping her pay for like school and stuff like that, because my mom like she changed majors or something. He went into nursing, and my dad came back to the Philippines, and they got married, and then he brought her like over, and then they lived in Florida. My brother was born. My brother was sent to the Philippines because they just really couldn't afford like having him here because things were so expensive, and my mom was still like taking her board exam, and then my dad was like working like full time. He was like one of the lead like main people in like these hotels and stuff. And then eventually my parents wanted like a change of pace, so they moved to Illinois like maybe 97-ish, and then I was born in 98.
Do you know why they moved from such a warm place to
they
such
just
a cold
they
place?
just I think it was just like better job opportunities there, like especially for like my dad,
Okay.
because like my dad worked for like Park District, so he basically worked for the government.
Mhm.
And then like it was just like they just wanted like a different change of pace and stuff, because like they're all just like living together down there. Like my parents didn't have their own place. They lived with like with one of my uncles. And I mean, my family in Florida, they all still like live in the same houses that they did. Like I'll visit one of my uncles. Mom's like, yeah, this used to be like me and your dad's room. We still like stay there. And then like I'll look in there, they still have like my dad and my mom's like old textbooks from when they were doing like reviewing for like certificates and like my mom's like nursing exams and stuff. So that was interesting to see. But yeah, I was born here. I was gonna say something. Yeah, I was born in Des Plaines. Um, I just remember that this was also time, I guess, like a lot of my godparents, like they were coming around at the same time, and like my dad was like really helping like them out and stuff like that. Like we lived with like one of my godfather, he lived with us for like most of my like childhood years before we moved to like a house, stuff like that. I just remember like not seeing like my parents too much when I was younger, because like the when they worked during like the day most of the time, and so I grew up a lot of my life um at my like nanny, like my babysitters. It wasn't like a babysitter, like we dropped her off and I was there from like 6 a.m. to like till my dad got out from work. So I grew up a lot of my life at my babysitter's, but she did not speak English at all.
Oh, that was not like me.
She didn't speak English at all. But we knew, like my parents knew her because I think she used to kind of like work at my mom. Like she was like one of the people who like cleaned up and stuff, or in like the nursing home wherever my mom worked. But she was like only there part-time, and then so parents like really liked her, and so I was there, and I was growing up learning Spanish like the first 2 years of my life. So I actually was really fluent in Spanish during that time of my life, and I would come home only speaking in Spanish. My parents were like, "What is this little girl talking about? What do you mean she wants papas? What do you like?" I would be like, "Mama, mira, 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 las sandalias muy bonita." And then my parents were like, "What is she talking about?" But my parents like picked up learning Spanish too from my babysitter, because her husband spoke English. He spoke English fluently. And we used to visit her every so often, like as I grew up. And then she'd be like, "Why don't you speak Spanish anymore?" And I'm like, "Hey, listen." No one wants to speak to the Asian girl in Spanish in elementary school. So yeah, I just my parents really like, even like when I was home, like they really pushed like, they had like very traditional like ideals of like, yeah, you gotta learn fast, gotta study early and stuff. So like I was considered like a gifted kid, but look at me now. Gifted with depression. But
Damn.
it's it's all chill. It's chill.
Facts.
Straight facts. I feel like that's like with a lot of like people. But definitely I think my parents, like, even though like they grew up most of their life in the Philippines, they have a very like modern like Western view on like the world, and so they don't really like push like very traditional ideals and stuff like they did. Like my cousins were really like pressured under like those ideals, like, no, you can't like hang out with people and stuff like that. Like my parents like really wanted me to like fit in and stuff like that, but then also like teach me like the traditional like ideals and stuff. So like I grew up learning like how to be like American, but also like learning how to also be like Filipino. but I remember no one ever told me like I was Filipino, so I thought I was Mexican.
No.
Like actually, because I kind of like I knew we were like Ilonggo, we were like Filipino, but that doesn't like as a kid that doesn't like register to you like what that actually means.
Oh, Ilongo is obviously in Mexico.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean like I had like friend like I had Asian friends, like we were like I had Filipino friends, like because I went to a Catholic school because I was a nerd and wanted to go to school at 3 years old. But then long story short, my mom got mad at like the principal or whatever at that school, so I transferred to public school to like right down the block. And like I understand all what the kids are saying, but like they're like who is this Chino like trying to speak like Mexican,
No.
like and I was just like, but I am Mexican. It's because it's a very confused because like I have a Spanish last name.
Yeah.
My last name's Zepeda, so and like I could speak Spanish. So I remember coming home one day like, hey, are we Mexican? And then my parents were like, no.
Like we failed you.
They're like, no. And then I was just like, oh. And then like existential crisis right there. But eventually, like after elementary school, I kind of stopped speaking Spanish a lot because English was the new thing. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's basically our immigration story. My uncle came, fought in war, and everyone came. But yeah, we've been trying. We actually did petition my grandma to come here, and she did live with us. She did like it passed. Like she was able to come here. She was here from like middle school. She came when I was in 7th grade, and she lived here up until like I graduated high school. That she was here.
Remember that, yeah.
Yeah. And then she eventually she just so like she was kind of like just like lonely here. Like she had like our family friends also have like their parents here, so like my other lolas, and then those were like her friends. They would like chismes all the time and stuff whenever we got around.
I think
But,
that's
like-
the case with like all the Lolas.
Yeah.
My grandma's like that too. She's
Yeah.
like, I want to go back to Cambodia.
Yeah.
For
It's ju-
what? You don't have a house there anymore.
yeah,
Oh.
she just
Well, like before when she had her house.
yeah, definitely. But it's just like I think it's just like very hard like here because like her body never really adjusted to like living in the cold. So like it was like
I think that's the main reason.
it was like very hard for like her to adjust like living here. Like even if she's like really bundled up, it'd be really cold. So like when we went back, she went back to the Philippines to visit, and she decided she wanted to like stay there. My mom was just like, yeah, if that's like that's what she wants, like we're not gonna like force her to like like stay here if like she doesn't want to like be here. So she went back. We've been trying to get like my other aunt to come here, and or like like Canada, but like there was like something up with like her like nursing license and stuff, and so like something happened, and she would have to retake it, but then she's like afraid like she's not gonna pass it. So like we kind of just like postponed that. So, but my mom has like a lot of cousins who like are in America and stuff. So my mom still talks to them. But yeah, it's just us. Like it's just us here in Illinois. The rest of like my like direct family is like down in Florida, or like really distant relatives are like a few away. So everyone else in the Philippines. And that's my story. Yeah. Any questions?
Well, I think one thing that's really interesting is when you move, you don't like you're not moving your whole family here, right? It's not like everyone and all your relatives that you've ever known are suddenly all here with you. So I think something that's really interesting about being a migrant is that you have to sort of almost either you fracture the family geographically and you have some of them there with you, or you kind of have to start a brand new family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think is really
Mhm.
interesting, just because, like, at least for me, when growing up, I all my grandparents lived in Mexico, and at least half of my uncles also stayed in Mexico.
Mhm.
So I'm not growing up. I didn't grow up with my grandparents. I didn't grow up with
Yeah.
half of my cousins or uncles. So I don't know. I don't know what your all's experiences with that.
Yeah. Like definitely like me growing up was just like it's just, it's just me and my parents, like that was just it. Like
Mhm.
I didn't meet like my paternal grandmother until like we would go there, but like she was also like really old at the time. And it was like I didn't really have like really the connection like the rest of my cousins did, like having her like more there versus like I did. Like when I like because like when I'm like the age gap between me and my cousins is like pretty big.
Mhm.
So like by the time like I was like more coherent in like understanding like who people are and stuff related to me, my grandma was already like suffering from like Alzheimer's. Like she was already like starting to like forget like everything, stuff like that. But yeah, it'd be like that. Ooh, sorry guys, I'm my allergies. But yeah, it's just like when like you like people who like come like together, like families that move together, it's usually always the like the husband and the wife and like the kids. But like if you have like your siblings and stuff, like usually that takes like a longer process and takes longer for everyone to like get here, if you can even get everyone approved to get here.
I think it's just like the approval process is the one that
Yeah,
fractures a bunch of families.
yeah, it takes like a long time. But
Like
yeah,
it
it
took a
was
long time.
yeah, definitely. I think ours, like my parent, like my uncle, like my dad's side, it didn't take like too long because it was like also like before like like 9/11 and stuff like that. So like definitely it was more like lenient like immigration and stuff like that.
I remember being able to even walk up to the gate with the person that was flying
Yeah,
as a
like
non-flyer.
you used to able be walked.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, and the
Yeah.
movies, the old movies too, where they like chase them
That's that
down.
yeah, that's why like you see like people are like, what are you talking there? People are like, why does that happen? Like it's because like you used to be able
You used to
to
be
do
able
that.
to.
Like declare my love to you before you leave to another state or
Yeah,
whatever.
you used to
Yeah.
just like yeah, but now things are like very more
Like
stricter
We
and
used to
stuff.
live. We used to live for that time.
I think in the movies, they would even go on the plane, like
Yeah. I don't think you could I like okay,
declare
that's the
your
movie.
love. I
I
know,
think that's just the
yeah,
movie, but
That's just
but
a
like
movie, but like
even
definitely you're able to just go up to like
to
the
the
gate.
go up to
gate,
the
like
gate.
yeah, because like I remember, I think there was one time my dad went back to Cambodia, like before 2003, and then
Mhm.
it's just me like in my pigtails, like hanging out at the gate or whatever with my Winnie the Pooh
Mhm.
overalls, so just hanging out there.
I
I'm
know
like, what
like
the heck?
the only time like cuz I flew to England by myself, but I was like cuz something happened with like my grandma's like visa cuz she was supposed to come with me. But um she wasn't able to go like at the time. So, but I was also like an unaccompanied minor, so they like let my dad like go with me, but like not the rest of my parents. They're like only like one adult was allowed to like wait with me until I boarded the plane.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, like back then, yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Now they're just like, screw you.
Yeah. Now I just be living my life here. Um yeah, I think my parents are like they're like they live up to like the Filipino American like uh aspect. Like they don't like they'll but like sometimes they'll like look back they watch a lot of the still Filipino news, and then my parents are like, why don't they just do this? And then I'm like, hey, like it's just like it's still different out there. Like not everyone has the same like values and stuff. Yeah, so I'm like really grateful my parents are like, they're kind of like they're still like very strict for sure, but like they're also still like cool and stuff like that. Like they don't mean to put too much pressure and stuff like that. They'd be like very traditional. they like being American. They love it.
Go ahead.
I'll popcorn this to Eric Vaccaro, the cowboy.
Okay. Tiffany's gonna take a potty break. So let's do a little pause here because I want to go potty too.
Oh, okay. Oh wait, I have a very funny immigrant story. You see. Well, okay.
Wait,
No,
Titty's gotta pee.
Okay, dang. I
Go.
can't even hear her.
Okay, go.
Oh, okay.
So,
When my
story.
okay, so I have one of my dad's brothers who like my parents used to live with. His name's Fred, and so you would assume like his full name is like Wilfred or something. So when he was being brought to America, like they're trying to position him. There's no record of like him existing.
He doesn't
No,
exist.
it's okay. And so what we find out later, his name is not Fred.
Oh no.
It was just like a nickname and stuff like that. And his real name is Ramon. It's Ramon. And so he had to like go through the hassle of like, because all his school records, it's under like Fred and stuff, but his birth certificate and like baptismal certificate, it's Ramon. So they had to like do all this verification of like, these two people are the same person. Like,
How do you get Fred from Ramon?
it's just like a
I
nickname or
get
whatever.
Frank from Eric. I don't know.
Exactly.
Right.
But apparently there were hints of this because I guess like okay, my dad and his brother, like my dad's like my uncles, they're all really smart, but they're a bunch of like troublemakers, like they walk around like town with guns all the time, but they're a bunch of they're hooligans, they're hoodlums. But one time, like I guess the police were like went in the house and they're looking for Fred, and my grandma sat there like, "There's no Fred here, only Ramon." And I'm like, damn, he evaded arrest from that. Yeah, and then then he legally changed his name to
Yeah.
Wilfred.
Hey, guys.
Go pee. You have to bring your cat with you.
Okay, so are we just
It's just bathroom break.
okay? I'll be back then.
Oh shit, it's me. Okay. So we will conclude this first part of our two-part series of our immigrant experiences for today. So listen to next week's episode to hear Eric and I's story. But ta-da.
Bye.
See you in the
Bye.
next one.